Hey everybody, it's Timothy here again, and we're getting ready to go live on Twitch for the Queen Elizabeth Piano Competition final round. Super exciting, I know. Each night we're going to be joined by a past laureate of the competition to have discussions and conversations starting Monday with Remi Jinye, Tuesday with Takashi Sato, Wednesday with Mariangelo Vacatello and Christine Lee, Thursday with my own brother Nikki Chooi, Friday with Henry Kramer, and Saturday with David Fung. We're also going to have exclusive interviews with the finalists themselves right off the stage, so make sure you don't miss that. Also going to have special guests, inspiring guests such as Marin Alsop join us in conversation. So make sure you join us and follow us on the Twitch channel and you won't miss a beat. I'll see you there. Hello everybody, it's me, Timothy here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. Where are you from? You know, this is our first time doing this on the Twitch stream channel, and we're super excited, something that's never been done before in competition. So there's a chat box below. Feel free to, at any time, to put in where you're coming from, where you're watching on from. I'm here in Canada right now in Montreal. It's a nice, beautiful day, but I am in quarantine, so this is the best time to release live stream right now. All right, so feel free, don't be shy, to type in where you're from, introduce yourself. So for those of you that still remember me, I was the previous second prize winner of the violin competition back in 2019, which is the last edition, because last year did not happen because of the coronavirus. Let's see what we have. Oh, we got here from France. Hello from France. Hello from Belgium. It's awesome. Okay, so far we're very strong in the Western Europe area. Taiwan, hi from Taiwan. Ontario, we have some from Ontario. We're neighbors right now. Awesome, okay. So yeah, just saying that this year, you know, because of the coronavirus, we're not able to have, you know, in-person competition. So we're gonna have to adapt, and Twitch, you know, I love Twitch. I think it's a great platform. We're going to be streaming here this year, all 6 nights, so don't miss out. This is just the first night. It's going to get better from this. The guest for tonight will be second prize winner of the 2013 competition, Remi Geniet. So thanks for being with us tonight. We'll be back with you in a couple of minutes. Oh, Remi, you're here. Why don't you say hi to everyone?
It's very nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm really excited to see what's happening for this first live on Twitch. It's really an interesting experience.
Of course. Where are you right now, Remi?
So now I'm in Paris in my apartment, and I'm not yet in quarantine, but I might have to travel a little bit and come back to quarantine as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So yeah, quarantine has been a real game changer of our rhythm of life, especially as musicians. We're always traveling, aren't we? And to have this 2-week or 10-day or 8-day quarantine is just going to be such a different style of planning for our travels now, right? You can't just hop on a flight.
Before you could think like, okay, we have 1 day for travel, 1 day for concert, and 1 day to travel back, and then now you have to think about, oh, maybe there's 2 or 3 weeks before and 2 or 3 weeks after.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so those of you that are just joining us right now, welcome to the Queen Elizabeth Piano Competition Twitch stream. This is our first time doing this right now, and super excited. This is a new idea that we came up with because we don't have an audience available in the competition, and this is one way we can discuss. Queen Elizabeth competition is an international competition in Brussels, Belgium, one of the most significant ones for young artists. Wouldn't you agree so, Remi?
Yes, of course.
It's a huge one all over from the world. They come from in the competitor side, and yeah, this year we're not able to have that because that's kind of what we're supposed to avoid right now, is being from all over the place and being together. So yeah, it's going to be great. And we're going to have a new guest with us every single night, a past laureate of the competition. We're going to have commentaries, and we're going to follow live what they're going to be doing backstage, what they're doing on stage, what it was like to go into the chapelle. And basically, I think they were already quarantining beforehand, so they're going to just quarantine the chapelle as well. And we're joining tonight with Remi Geniet, who just joined us right now. And we're going to have a clip of Remi from the 2013 competition, sorry. And why don't we put that on right now? You ready to see some of yourself?
Okay, hard exercise every time.
You're so serious.
Yeah, it's fun because just to see that, I remember the stress it was like, and the tension there was. So it's really funny too. And actually, I think that's the first time I really watched again, like precisely one of these passages. It's really interesting to see.
So for those of you that are not musicians, Remi, I'm sure you can agree with me. It's very painful to watch us play, to watch ourselves play, isn't it?
Yes.
It's one of the worst things ever. I mean, if you want the closest example, it's like hearing yourself do an interview and then hearing yourself talk for the next 30 minutes of that interview. It's terrible. But you play wonderfully. What did it feel like after that performance?
Oh, it was quite of like, it's such a long trip. This competition is one month long. You have first round, second round, then one week in La Chapelle, and then this final round. This final round is so long with one solo sonata. We don't have this anymore this year, but we had a solo piece to play, then the contemporary piece and the concerto, and I chose this so huge concerto, Rachmaninoff third. And you just end up. I think you can see I was a little bit tired at the end. And you don't show it, of course. You have all the energy, but it's like really the last 100 meters of a very, very long run. And then it was quite fantastic, of course, to play. And you have still a lot of questions. You try not to think so much about which prize you will get, but of course you are thinking about it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a marathon. It was crazy. I remember it was really insane. Oh, we have a comment here. Was that Sylvia Huang behind you, I guess? And do you know Sylvia Huang, Remi?
No, sorry.
For those of you that know, Sylvia was a past laureate of the 2019. Yeah. So she was a past laureate of the 2019 competition, and she actually used to play in the orchestra.
Oh, very nice. I didn't know.
Yeah, she sat right behind you, actually. She's the one chair beside the principal second. And it's so funny to see her there because I remember, I only knew her as someone that was doing competitions, but isn't that such a interesting perspective to have to be in that orchestra that accompanies the competition every year and then suddenly be at the front and now solo with them. She played Dvorak Violin Concerto. That was really, really a tough one. And I remember she had so much guts and she never played that before. So I was like, oh my goodness, played it with orchestra. It was such a triumphant gesture. I mean, did you play Rachmaninoff before you played it at Queen Elizabeth, or was that your first time?
1 or 2 times. not that much, not enough at
Okay.
least. For I think for to preparation, we always meet opportunities to play with orchestra. It's it's the
Exactly.
like the circle. You need to make competition to play with orchestra, and you need to play with orchestra to prepare competition. So
Yeah, it's a circle of life for us, isn't it? And speaking of that, these competitors haven't had any of that opportunity for the past year. They've been quarantined, because of the virus, and this is really, I think, one of the most difficult years, because not only are you not able to communicate with the audience, because I feel like when you play in a concert hall, a lot of the energy, the momentum, the inspiration comes from feeling that connection with the audience. But they don't have that this year. They're going to be playing for cameras. And I think they really have to find themselves to find that emotion and that inspiration, that adrenaline, other than the fact that there's a whole bunch of cameras moving around, to really bring out the best in their performances. Did you follow along with the competition this year?
not that much. I have quite a lot of things to do now. I have two friends there, so I followed a little bit. But it's almost end of lockdown now in France, so we have against concert, and we are not used to that anymore. We need to practice, and yeah, so a lot of things happening studentally,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
nice. But I followed a little bit. Dimitri Sin and Jonathan Fournel, I know them from final.
Yeah, I just been following a little bit here and there. I have a couple friends as well. And the first competitor for tonight is going to be Vitaly Starikov. So for those of you who don't know, he's Russian. We got a few Russians actually in the finals of this year's competition. He's 26 years old. He's been training in the Euros Conservatoire in Yekaterinburg. I don't know if I said that right, but let's show a short video of him when he was at the Queen Elizabeth Chapel during the past week of isolation.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I love this one. Hello, guys. My name is Vitaly Starikov, finalist of the Queen Elizabeth competitions. I am 26 and I'm from Russia. It is about maybe 5 hours, 6 hours. If it is preparing to the such competition, yeah, for example, it may be until 8 hours, for example. Yeah. Too many hours.
He looks
Mostly, yeah, I watch movie. Harry Potter, for example. Yeah, something like that.
this piece. Dun, dun, dun. Lightsaber.
I can tell about my first concertos like pianist. I I played with my teacher, and teacher played main part of the work, and I played only one note, this. Yeah, it was a very big successful. Maybe I was 6 years old. Visions Fugitives by Prokofiev. I really like Eminem, for example, from rap music. Yeah, I like Zemfira. It's a Russian rock musician. Such groups like Arctic Monkeys, like Beatles, like I have bought my instruments, it's Blüthner from earlier of 20th century, and for me, of course, he has a soul, he has a special sound. Yeah, I really like it. It's simple.
That was awesome. That was so fun. Did you do something like that, Remi?
We didn't do that. It was much more serious. It's so nice to have this kind of off stage interview with pop culture and everything.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that before until my year, 2019. We did something like that. It was not as creative as that actually, but it was towards that kind of humor. But I think that's really cool just to see the fun side of the artist because we're not always serious, right? All right, so tonight, the final round. What is Queen Elizabeth competition famous for? Is that imposed piece in the final round where you had to play a commissioned piece that you get 7 days to learn. You don't get to see the score until you get into the Reine Elisabeth chapelle. You're locked up there. You can't talk to anyone. You have to learn that piece. What are we going to do, right? What do you think, Remi? What was your thoughts?
Actually, they invented lockdown before the lockdown. It's a 7-day lockdown for the final. And it's very special. Now it looks like normal to be sitting at home and staying alone, but when you're doing always concerts and you are telling, you are told okay, you will stay for 1 week and see no one and just learn one piece for the final. It's very strange. And also you get a little bit used during those 2 weeks of first round and second round to have all the medias around you and everything. And suddenly there is nothing anymore. Only you and the finalist. This is also very interesting because you can really meet the finalist and the laureate. And
exactly.
I think there's some competition where the finalists, you see them a little bit like opposite, and it's more like confrontation. And here you have to cooperate with them. You have to work together, and it's so interesting. They become really friends.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just going to interrupt you now. The jury just came on to the stage, and that is the Queen and the King that we're seeing right now, and they're playing the national anthem, right? Brabançon. That's how you pronounce it, La Brabançon. So that's really awesome. So Vitaly is going to be playing tonight that piece, Dans Jardin Féerique, composed by Bruno Mantovani, and then he's going to be performing Concerto No. 1 in B flat minor, Opus 23, Tchaikovsky. So I think he's the only one that's playing Tchaikovsky tonight. Wow.
Tonight for sure is the only one to play.
Oh, exactly. I think he's the only one playing Tchaikovsky for the whole competition. I think we got a lot of Rachmaninoff, and we have some Prokofiev. I know we have Rachmaninoff.
Brahms second for sure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Wow, this is so interesting just to see it without an audience. Oh, there's Queen Matilda and the King as well. So King Philippe. Oh, wow. I wonder if they're going to be joining with us for the entire competition. Oh, I guess they are. Okay. All right. So you know this moment, right? You're backstage. It's the moment that you've been waiting for. Yeah, a lot of cameras. It's surprising. When you're behind the scenes of the stage, it doesn't seem like it, but it actually is like 4 cameras just following you around. You're like, get away from me, get away from me.
Exactly. We're thinking so much the same.
All right, so Stephanie is now announcing. Oh my goodness, my heart's racing already just seeing this. It doesn't even feel real to me. That's the weird part. It looks like I'm watching a TV show, but I know it's at the same time this is happening right now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so she's introducing him. Vitaly is probably, I don't know what he could be feeling. It's so weird. He could be really nervous, probably probably full of excitement. In some ways, it's like, it's worse just because it's like you've been waiting so long just to get on stage here. And then really, when you go on stage, it's only an hour or less. Okay, wow, it's so weird to not see an audience, but orchestra members look the same. What did you feel when you went on the last few seconds before they announced your name? Rémi Geniet from France.
I don't know. I remember I waited a very long time before because always like I think I was the second in the evening because normally there's 12 finalists, so you are two every day. And I wait a long time, and there were other camera and get a little bit more and more stressed. And at the point you hear your name, you go, and then you just forget everything and you play. And
Yeah,
then it's
that's
feel much
true.
better when you are actually on stage and you really play. You say, okay, now I'm a musician. I know why I'm here.
Exactly. I think once you go on stage, something about that you've been practicing for so long just all clicks in suddenly. And then all those nerves and anxiety and nausea, this is all, it disappears. And then you can really focus
Yeah.
because for the past 7 days, you've been just nonstop practicing with such structure. So, but I do wonder what it's like to see them right now without an audience clapping. I wonder if, I mean, we'll clap from Twitch, right? I don't think you can hear us.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I remember the cameras were all around. It was me and the Maestro Wolf, and we were just looking at each other and we're like, all right, talking, let's get on stage. For me, I was really nervous about the page turn. Okay, Remy, it's time to introduce Vitaly onto the stage. The waiting's the hardest part. Okay.
Yeah,
He looks pretty calm.
so that's typically you look like there's a camera here like and even just before the stage you cannot be still. There's camera
Exactly.
watching you all the time, so
Okay, I'm interested to hear what this piece sounds like. So we have the score with us.
yes.
All right. Let's take a look. Oh my goodness, it looks hard.
I play once a piece from Montevani. It's really nice piece, but quite hard. Yes.
I like his haircut. So that's okay. I like his haircut too. Remy, let's just talk a little bit over while he's playing.
Sure.
What was going through your mind when you were actually performing it for real? Because in the chapelle, when we had 1 week to learn this piece, and by the way, for those of you that are just joining us in, the competition is unique. This Queen Elizabeth competition is unique because they give us a brand new concerto or a piece to learn in 7 days, and it's located, the chapelle is located not too far away from Brussels itself, about 20 minutes away in, I think, the town called Waterloo or Waterloo, and it's a very isolated place, and you really can't go in there without a car. But we're basically given that opportunity to learn this concerto or piece for 7 days with no outside help or anything. But, you know, we learn it, and it's just so weird to actually finally perform it. What was going through your mind when you were actually performing it on stage for a public, for real?
You know, I think first of all, I really like the piece from Michel Petruccian. It was on my ear, and as it's on position like the concerto, you prepare for so much time before. This piece is very new, like 1 week, so you're very focused on what you do now. You can see it was like me. We were playing with the score. There's very few candidates who played without the score. It's really dangerous. Because you don't know very well. Orchestra doesn't know so well as well. They didn't play it before, especially if it's the first day they play it. So generally, everyone plays it with score, and so we are quite focused on watching the conductor, watching the score, and just making sure that we are doing it correctly. Because we have only one rehearsal or maybe two, one rehearsal and one general rehearsal. It's for big concerto and the contemporary concerto. It's not a lot. So I would say maybe you are more relaxed and more into the just feeling during your concerto, but contemporary piece you are more focused and a little bit more into the score.
I think so. Yeah. When I first got the piece, I think the first thing I said to myself is like, how long is this piece? Because I know the year before, or the violin edition before the one I did, the piece was very short. It was only 9 or 10 minutes. The one I did was like almost 30 minutes. So I was like, oh, what is happening? I hope there's all a tutti. Is it too hard? There was a cadenza. I was like, oh, thank goodness, because cadenza can take more time as opposed to always playing with the orchestra. But I know what you mean. So it is a bit relaxing actually to play this first piece, because what you basically have to do is make sure that everything you planned in the score you do and execute. There's not much room of interpretation other than very basic things that you've already decided a couple days before. I know some people memorize. Actually, no, there was one kid. Oh, sorry, one contestant, not one kid. One contestant that did memorize the score, and that was Stephen Kim, who won 3rd prize in my year. And I was like, you're crazy. But my teacher, Catherine Cho, she told me that during her time, when she did it in 1989, a lot of people did it from memory. I just don't know how you would do that, because I have.
It depends.
I
think it's depends of the piece also. My piece, I know I knew it almost. I could play it without the score in my room, but I say, okay, I don't want to risk it on stage. You know, it's the last round of Queen Elisabeth competition. You don't want to take this risk with only 1 week.
Because the pressure is so high.
In my edition, there was no one played it without score. Some other editions, there was 2 or 3 people sometimes, yes.
Okay.
And it also really depends on the kind of piece. I really love this piece, and it was quite possible in this piece to make rubato and a lot of expression inside. And so that's why I really love the piece In the Wake of Air by Michel Petruccian. I played it again after also.
Okay. Yeah, my piece. Oh, we have a comment here. I think as a non-musician, it would take me 7 years to learn one piece. 7 days is impossible. Yeah, I mean, you know, here's the thing. We're very adaptable. When we need to get something done to a deadline, I feel like you're going to make everything possible to make it happen. So it's amazing what the human mind can achieve. So if you really put your brain and your effort and your soul into it, I feel like I could have memorized it, but it was just one extra step of stress when I was already stressed about my main romantic concerto, which I was like, can I memorize that as well?
Same,
so
yes, the same.
It's just, I don't know how people do it. I think in the past it was more like a test of if you can actually do it. But I think, you know, some people have different minds. They maybe just can only play if they memorize the piece. I'm hearing a little bit of this piece, and there's a lot of similarities actually to the piece I did 2 years ago now. It was very ethereal with a lot of rubato, and the piece that we were given was written by the Finnish composer Hakola. That was his name, and very much a really nice sounding melodies combined with a lot of effects. I thought of it as a different version of John Williams. Actually, it had so many imagers and colors and orchestra textures, and the violin did many things that I actually had to stamp. So I stomped on the ground, and that was really I think that was really one of the hardest parts, because it's like we're not used to stomping so much with intention. Was there anything that was of an extended technique when you were having to prepare your piece for the final round?
No, it was quite classical technique, like nothing in the keyboard. We say prepare the piano. That's when you put like some thing in the piano and it's make like a ding 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 ding. It can happen, but this one was really like a standard piano, only on the keyboard.
Okay, so it was
very nice. A lot of different color also with orchestra, and a lot of different solo in the orchestra. So playing with flute, playing with woodwinds, harp.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. I think even for my piece, there were 2 harps, so I had to look around. And I remember when I was playing it through, it was almost like each page was like, oh, first page done, second page, second page was okay, third page, this is the hard part, let's focus. And I was like, let's make sure we nail this and make sure that I make this color. And then by the end of it, I was like, oh my thank goodness. Now I just have to focus on the romantic piece. I don't know if they have that same feeling, but for you, were you more stressed out about the commission piece or the romantic concerto?
I think mostly the main concerto. Because it was hard, this new piece, but I really enjoyed it. And you have maybe a little bit less of pressure because nobody knows it. So you say, okay, it's new, let's try to do the best of it, to show the best music. But it's not like I played Rachmaninoff third concerto. He will play Tchaikovsky first concerto. That's concerto you heard hundreds of times, and everyone knows it.
Oh, the music fell down. Did you see that?
Sometime.
Oh my goodness! Did anything like that happen to you? Any accidents happen to you on stage?
I remember, it's quite tricky because you can see it's a very big score, and generally the music stand is not that big, so we had some kind of big thing behind the score to hold it, and we make something with scissor with additional, because sometimes we can not turn, and so we have to turn in advance, and it was written always like turn here and turn there. It was for me actually, but to remember I had to turn on precise thing. So it's always tricky to turn page on a contemporary piece when you have nobody, and you don't want really someone near you, because then you cannot really see the orchestra and conductor. So generally you turn by yourself if any concerto.
Exactly. I think I remember that I had to, because the thing about when you're reading something with music, you have to memorize also the page turn. So for me, I remember I was practicing in my room in the chapelle to be, okay, page turn, play, page turn, and timing it. We have a comment here from Pauline666. Hello, do you think someone who started instrument late at 13 years old would have a chance to win this competition, I think he meant, at the next edition violin? I think you need a little more time.
Well, you will answer for violin because I'm not violinist, but for piano, I would say like case of musician who become like really professional with a great career and start after 10 are very rare. It's not impossible, but very, very rare. For example, my friend Lucas Debargue, he started quite late, I think around 10, then it stopped a little bit and then start again, and he had a very nice prize in Tchaikovsky competition, but it's very specific and it's quite rare. So I would say not impossible, but probably not the case.
Yes, I would have to agree, especially for violin. Violin is something that you need to learn. I would also agree before 10 years old, if not earlier. I know there are some people who started later, but they already were playing some sort of musical instrument. So I think they might have started with the piano, or they started with a cello or something, and then they switched over. I think that might make up for some time because at least your listening skills are much more advanced. So you just focus on the playing, but still, it's pretty rare. And I think
also for
you're asking
violin,
if you can win this. Sorry, go on.
yes, I say for violin, you have the thing is, my brother is violinist, so I know a little bit. It's so small. You have to realize how small the part where you are playing is compared to the piano, and knowing really perfectly to play in tune and the good sound with the right hand, it takes so much time, and that's something really you learn. I see from 5 to 10 years old, typically for violinists.
Yes. I agree, because I think the learning curve for the violin to the moment from starting the violin to actually playing a piece that sounds decent takes a long time, and then goes like this. I think for piano it's a little bit more like this, but then once you get to that level, the repertoire is endless.
Yes,
right?
that's the thing. Piano, it's easy to play piano. I just put my finger and there is not already. Piano does everything for us. The problem is then you add more voices and you make polyphony and you can do so much things, and it gets harder more at the end. Like, well, more like when you get 13, 14 years old and you start all Beethoven sonatas and Liszt and Bach and all the repertoire. So much thing everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we're ending this piece very soon, so let's just hear what the ending sounds like, and then we'll chat again. Oh, I was too late.
Too late. But congratulations for the page turner by the orchestra.
Exactly. Wow, that is a very nervous thing to be in that situation.
Extremely.
I mean,
you are like playing like, and you see that. So.
And he kind of messed up already, so isn't that he dropped the music? Remember just now? That's already. Oh, my heart would skip. Sometimes page turning. And some people say you page turn, and you're so lucky because you get to see the pianist's finger. I'm not focusing on that. I'm making sure I don't mess up because it's really easy, and the timing is so important because 1 second late, it can mess up the entire performance, and it's all because of the page turner.
Oh, there's about page turner, when the pianist is not ready and didn't practice, he will always accuse the page turner to do something wrong and say, "Oh, I did a mistake because it was very wrongly page turner." And so sometimes don't be too much afraid. It's like sometimes we just didn't practice.
That's true, because I think if you page turn a bit earlier, at least you can memorize. You know what's coming ahead, right?
You should know every 1 bar approximately. So normally you can, if the pianist know really what he's playing, you can turn the page a little bit in advance or a little bit late. It's fine normally.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's done with the imposed piece. So I think that went pretty well. I think that wasn't so long actually. That was, I mean, maybe I lost track of time, but it seemed like it was not too long. Okay, someone has a question here. Don Lilly. I know this is weird, but how about using a pedal with an electronic tablet as a page turner?
That's totally possible.
Remi.
Yes, it's totally possible for pianists. They use that a lot. Lucas Genusias is using that now. It's a great pianist and is only using iPad, tablet, and pedal is very convenient. I don't know for violinists if it's the same case. I think the problem violinist, your score. I mean, on 2 pages you can put a lot of music. Like typically 1 movement of concerto, it's not more than 4 pages, 6 pages maybe. On piano, we have to turn page so much more often.
I do know some violinists who do like using the page turner, but I will be honest with you. I really don't like it. I hate it, and it makes me nervous because I'm standing up. We're standing up all the time, so we need both feet on the ground. And the balance is a real problem, I think, because at least if you're a pianist, you're sitting down, you can somewhat you're used to moving your feet around because you're pedaling already.
We are used to pedal. Basically, right? We are used to pedal. Yeah. It's just 1 pedal more. We have 3 pedal, it's a 4th one.
Exactly.
Oh, concerto.
Yeah. Concerto now. Tchaikovsky, B flat. Let's hear him play a little bit before we start talking again. Okay. Sure. Why don't we put this on full screen so we can enjoy this in its entirety? Okay, now we're getting into the meat of that first movement.
Yeah.
So this concerto is one of the most popular, I think, any concerto out there in the classical music repertoire. Have you played this before, Remy? I'm sure
Yeah,
you
I
have,
played
right?
it, and for sure it's probably the most famous piano concerto for now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really funny, you know, because you have to know that Tchaikovsky wrote it, I think, for Anton Rubinstein, a pianist, very famous pianist, a Russian pianist on the stage. And this pianist told you, this music is shit and will never be performed anywhere. It's very bad. And Tchaikovsky was so depressed after that. And he wrote a second version with the help of this pianist. And that's the one we play the most. And now the first version is also played. It's really nice also. And I mean, this pianist was so really not nice, and it was really wrong, because it became the most famous piano concerto in the world. And I really don't know why. Probably it was strange, very new for this time, but it was really wrong to say that it will never be played. It's so much played now.
I know, exactly. So here's the thing about Tchaikovsky. So, I mean, the violin concerto is also very, very well known and also played a lot. I don't think maybe as well known as a piano concerto, but very well known within the music community. But outside of that, I think people recognize some tunes. But when you take it out of context of learning it and preparing for a competition, do you feel like you get asked a lot to play Tchaikovsky's piano concerto, or is it not as...
Actually, I never played it in competition. I played it after doing competitions. And so for me, it was always a concerto. Like I proposed, do you want Tchaikovsky one? Yes, for sure. Sometimes, of course, people ask. Actually, I think it was just before lockdown in 2019. The first concert of the year was absolutely not planned. They got a soloist who was ill and couldn't play Tchaikovsky one, and so I was called by Orchestre de Liège in Belgium, and they asked me, could you play please Tchaikovsky one with orchestra? In it was like 4 days preparation, and I say yes, and so I learned it back in 3 days, but I already played it before, and it was really nice.
Yeah, it's so nice to play Tchaikovsky. Something about it is just so satisfying. The whole process through, and it's beautiful music. I think that's why it's so popular. Yeah. I mean, what do you find about what do you think about this concerto makes it so well known? What elements of this composition makes it so memorable?
I think the entry is something very important. You see, this all those on with the motifs, and the fact that the piano entry is so strong and like you are building a monument or something, and Tchaikovsky also has this capacity, and violin concertos is the same, to make a theme that everyone will remember. I mean, the theme of violin concerto, so like you hear it once and you want to hear it again and hear it again and you hear the same. And then I think in the history, also the fact that Van Cliburn won the first Tchaikovsky competition with this concerto, brought it even more, like on first stage, it was the piano concerto. And you have to understand, because it was really political at this point. Tchaikovsky competition was made in Russia, and it was really a surprise for everyone that an American pianist, Van Cliburn, won this competition, and he won it with this Russian concerto Tchaikovsky one. So it was an enormous success, and then he played it all through the world, and it's fantastic interpretation, by the way. If you can hear Van Cliburn Tchaikovsky first concerto, it's really fantastic.
Okay, we'll look out for that. Van Cliburn's Tchaikovsky piano concerto. So, okay, I understand why people love playing this piece, but Remy, how did you end up choosing your Rachmaninoff third concerto to perform at the Queen Elisabeth competition in 2013? What did you think about to best portray your artistry with that piece?
Maybe it was not the good choice, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that I love this concerto for such a long time. It came back from when I was like 10, 11 years old. I heard a concert in Montpellier, my hometown, when I heard this concerto, and it was fantastic for me. I say, what a piece, this concerto. And then my mother bought me a score of the concerto, and you know, it's like 12 years old. It's like trying to play the Tchaikovsky concerto at 12 years old. It's really hard. And so I tried to play a little bit, and I knew most of the theme by this time. I could not play everything, and when with my teacher we prepared a competition. It was a Horowitz competition. I think it was canceled 1 year because the lack of money or something like fundings. And so the second year, at first she didn't want me to play a Rachmaninoff concerto. She said to me, it's too early to play this piece. And second year, I said, please, can I play it? And she said, okay, yes, let's play it. And so I did it in Horowitz competition. Then so it went kind of my concerto for competition, you know. And I love this so much, so I wanted absolutely to play it for Queen Elisabeth as well.
Yeah. And who was your teacher? Who is your? Let's take this chance now to talk a little bit about.
Let's just hear about the actor. I'm interested by this passage.
Okay.
You have to understand, for pianists, it's a very iconic passage because you have this big tutti, and then this big octave passage, which can be very tricky. And depending which tempo you want to take it and which tempo the orchestra is playing it before, you might end up very, very fast, and it can be very hard. So I was interesting. Very nice. It did very nice.
How did it go? They did? Okay.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, very good. I mean, he's a great pianist, of course.
I'm interested to know some of the other big challenges of this piece. So if there's some section that you want to help guide me as a listener, because I mean, everything sounds good to me, and I don't know what the challenges are sometimes, but if there's a section in particular...
So there's definitely some tricky things on the technical point of view, but I would say for such a pianist like Queen Elisabeth competition finalist, it's not really the problem. Like technically, they know the piece. It's then for me, what is really hard in this concerto is to have this kind of very large song. It's like a hymn to love, to something very great, and that's really hard to build through all the concerto. I think you have a little bit the same in the violin concerto. It's such a long piece, and to be able to build this story from one point, this very calm theme at the beginning to the grandiose final, it's really hard. And that's where I really like, for example, the Van Cliburn for me is like storytelling of the concerto is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely with Tchaikovsky's violin concerto, it's very easy for it to sound slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, without having that overarching idea of the story from beginning to end. So sometimes I know when I first heard Tchaikovsky's violin concerto, it was maybe not the best violinist out there, but it felt like so long. And it was very nice melodies, but once I heard it where someone really connected everything and beautifully molded it with the colors, with timing and articulation, it just turned into one long piece that was one complete story. So I think that also, is very similar to the piano concerto.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We have a lot of different very nice themes, and if you're not careful, it can be like, oh, it's nice theme, and now it's another nice theme, but why want this? And even at a point you can think, oh, but he's a bad composer, like Tchaikovsky did something wrong, and no, it don't do something wrong, but you have to understand why it goes from this first theme to the second and the third one, and what is the dialogue between orchestra and soloist as well.
So Remi, it's been 8 years since the competition, right?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that as we're taking a little breather right now. So when did you realize that, first of all, when you did that competition, when did you realize that that was going to be a huge stepping stone towards your solo piano career? Was that something you planned particularly, or was it just something that, okay, competition's coming up, I have all the repertoire, let's do it?
Yeah, you know, competition, I plan to prepare for like, it's like, I would say 1.5 progress. It's like 1 year you learn all the repertoire, which is huge for such competition. And then for 6 months you play it and you play it to prepare. And so, yeah, of course, I knew that I had a chance to get a prize. And if I got a prize, it's such a wonderful competition that it will absolutely change my career. And it did, of course, it did.
Yeah.
So, of course, 2 years before the competition, I know that if I prepare correctly, if everything happens well, I can really change my career. And so I went for it and practice for it.
So what would you say, once you did the competition and you passed and you became a laureate, second prize especially, you know, that's huge honors. First, second, third, I think when you're in the top 6, you know, it's really anything can happen at that point, right?
I think that's something really great. The competition, Queen Elisabeth competition achieved is for the 6th first prize is fantastic, but for the 6th prize after, unfortunately, we have only 6 finalists this year. But normally you have 12 finalists, and all the finalists are really well promoted, and you have video from them. They have concerts. Even if you're not like it's the 6th first, it's really fun. Everyone loves you and knows you. And even for semi-finalists, I know some semi-finalists very talented who got so much proposition of concert after, and it's fantastic. Because on other hand, I know some competition very hard with a lot of very good candidates, and you get second prize, first prize. You say fantastic, you get some money, which is great, of course, and then no concert. And you say, what shame. And Queen Elisabeth is so much the opposite. You have so much recognition from the audience after, and people love you and know you and want you to play again. And it's really fantastic.
Yeah, and Queen Elisabeth is such a great organization because they keep somehow having us involved. Like what we're doing right now, this is amazing. Yeah, 8 years later, and we're still talking, right? And I get to know you, and I'm sure there's, it's amazing.
I'm sure it's
so tell us
for you. We have the host family also. It's just fantastic thing. Yes. I think you had that as well.
My host family was amazing, really the best.
It's absolutely amazing. You have to know that this competition, as you stay for 1 month there in Belgium, there's family generally with a piano for pianists, but maybe for violin not, who accept to host you for 1 month doing all the competition. And so they really become like a second family. It's just fantastic. And when you get laureate, after you play some concert for them in house, they invite a lot of friends and you play for them. And they really become, for my host family, they become like friends. And each time I'm going to Brussels, I go by them and are so happy to hear me and we discuss about music, and it's so lovely.
Yeah, it's amazing because they're rooting for you. They want you to do really well because I feel like, you know, where you stay, where you live, how your everyday life, how things go at home, it really reflects how well you can perform on stage as well. So for me, my host family was amazing, and I contribute to the successful experience at the Queen Elisabeth competition because of my host family taking such good care of me and allowing me to have my own space and really just being so great and supportive. I think that's amazing, right?
Yeah, you have to realize how much do we need as competitor during the competition to just think about music and forget about everything else. And host family helps that so much with that. Like you don't have to worry about where you will live for this month, and I think for me really during this month, like time spent on their piano at home was one of my best memory of this competition. Not the part on stage with everyone, but also the parts at home in your host family.
Yeah, and Brussels is such a beautiful city too. It's so walkable. It's great.
Nice.
So the whole experience for me is like a fairy tale, especially during COVID. So let's talk about right after you won the competition. How did it change your career right after?
Totally. It was like I went from like, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 concerts a year to 50, 60 concerts a year. And price, of course, went higher.
Yeah.
And like interview, and I wasn't really not used to that, like speaking for journalists, and it's hard actually. You do a lot of mistake at first, for TV, for newspaper, for social networks, and it's something totally new. And I'm not from a family of musician, and so it's something I really didn't knew it, and I really discovered by myself.
And I see on your website that you're working with a management company as well. Is that something that came right afterwards? That was
1 year after.
part of
Yeah. Of course, it was not just after, because of course there's a lot of propositions just after, and I just wanted a little bit of time to think about it. And but yeah, I work with Kajimoto now. It's really nice.
That's awesome.
But of course, just after the competition, you have so much proposition. It was like just reading emails and answering emails was just crazy. Like 10 emails a day about people asking you things. It's fantastic, but it's a lot of pressure as well. It's you have to keep up.
It's great.
You have to keep the quality. That's the hardest part, I guess, for a competitor. When you win a competition, is you will get a lot of quantity of work, and you have to keep up the quality and the will of playing and enjoy the music. And
exactly.
That's a very hard part.
I agree. Okay, so he's done the first movement. He's not sweating. I remember it being so hot on stage. I don't know about you.
Can happen. I think it was fine.
No, when I did, it was so hot.
This second movement is very nice. You have to have this theme about the flute.
Let's hear a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Let's hear a little bit of this. That was beautiful.
Yeah, you know what I really like? I was thinking about it. What I really like about Tchaikovsky is how his orchestration, especially how you speak with the woodwinds. When you have this concerto, you play this concerto, you have the impression of playing chamber music with woodwinds. And in opera, it's a little bit the same. It's really fantastic. Just after, we will hear some very nice cello solo, and it's really like you are playing a cello sonata, and you are just playing accompaniment. It plays the theme, and it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It's the same actually in the violin concerto. The second movement is just kind of like the solo violin and the woodwinds, and you have to kind of blend the sounds together. You get this very exotic sounding. Very sounding harmony. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's a cello. You got a haircut. I always remember him with long hair and a big beard.
And you see, there were only like piano and cello solo, so it's really like playing a sonata, and that's really fantastic about this concerto.
That's not that many cellists on stage. That was like only 4 or 5 I saw, or unless I didn't see that properly.
I didn't check.
Or I don't know if it's social distancing as well.
And you asked me about a tricky passage, and the passage following that is very tricky for piano and for orchestra to play with. It's very fast, like a kind of scherzo into the second slow movement. And it's really a nightmare for also for conductor to just give the right off-tact thing. Just see.
Speaking of this, you know what's interesting? I've noticed that this year's pool of candidates, they're a little bit on the older side. They're not old, but they're on the older side. I think he's the youngest one. He's 26.
Yeah, maybe that's,
when you did it, you were pretty young.
I was the youngest of the finalists, yes, but it went through 8. So I was 20, and the oldest was 30 years old. So like quite different.
Oh, okay.
For example, the first prize was 30 years old. I was 20, and third prize I was 24, 25, I guess. So a lot of different things. Here I see they are almost all like 26, 27, maybe 25.
27, 28. There's a couple.
Yes.
I think there's 129 as well. And
when
I did it,
you have to think they wait all 1 year because competition last year was cancelled. So
exactly. Yeah, everybody's age is just, I mean, I don't feel like I turned, and it's crazy. And when I last did the competition, I was 25. And at the time I was like, oh, I'm still young. But then 2 years have just passed already. So, I mean, this is the next question I have to ask you is what have you been doing during COVID?
What I was doing during COVID? That's a very good question. First lockdown, it was a little bit of, okay, it's a shame because I had a lot of very nice concerts canceled, but on the opposite side, it was interesting to do something else, just to relax a little bit, have time to read, watch movies, read lots of different music, things I never did. So that's one on 2020, first lockdown. And then when it came back in October, September, and then now this year, it started to be a little bit more hard because you have concert, then they get cancelled, and then you say, okay, maybe cancel, but not cancel, and you don't really know what to expect anymore. And so I started to practice a little bit more seriously new programs, even if I knew that maybe I will not play it now, but it's something still interesting. So I try to, I'm practicing Chopin studies, which are really a case on in piano repertory, of course. And more recently, I decided to take again orchestral conducting. That I will start next year, and I think it's kind of a good opportunity of all this lockdown and COVID time. It's try something new.
Wow, that's incredible. I have so much respect that you are doing that. So, can you tell us what concerts you have coming up? Anything that was super exciting that was like, that was going to be so exciting, and then it's like, it didn't happen. Tell us, what was your highlights of that season that was supposed to happen?
Just the first lockdown, I should have played in Moscow, Great Hall of Conservatory, so it's like one of the best halls in the world. And then in Seattle, like it was all Tchaikovsky, all Rachmaninoff concertos, and I should have played the third one, the one I played for the competition, and all that was cancelled. And also some tour in Japan, and I had so much nice concert that were cancelled. But the one I missed the more, I think it's like Tchaikovsky for Rachmaninoff third concerto and the concert in Russia. I really love to play in Russia.
Yeah, I was supposed to play in Russia as well, and that was something I was really looking forward to. But hopefully in the future, it's kind of tricky because now we have 2 seasons that is backed up, right? It's not just 1 season anymore; it's 2 seasons. At least here in the North America, I don't know in Europe. But it's hard to postpone.
It depends where, you know, in for example, in Russia, they like to organize a little bit or everything not very in advance. So like you can be asked 2 months in advance or 1 month in advance, could you play this concert? In Japan, they really like to be very in advance. And so I remember during first lockdown, I got a call from a lady, a very nice lady in Japan, and they told me that one concert I should have like in 2 years will be in 3 years because they are all moving 1 year, shifting 1 year. So it's already full booked for 3 years or something like this.
Right. That's insane.
All season are just shifted for 1 year.
Exactly. So how hard is this last movement?
Pretty hard, but not really where you expect. I would not say it's so hard technically, but to really play with orchestra, and it's really like a different. It's like popular theme. It's a little bit like a Russian dance, and then you can hear like now it's very singing melody, and to make a whole part of this, as we thought, it's really hard. This theme is really nice. Yeah, now.
I think I saw somewhere in the comments someone was saying, isn't it disturbing to play a ring with the? I think for violin it can be, especially if it's on your left hand.
There are a lot of pianists are playing with
that?
a ring. Lot of pianists are playing with a ring. I don't think it's a problem.
Do you have? I mean, are you?
I'm not married, so I don't have a ring.
Me neither.
So I cannot tell you. But I think it's not a problem.
So, Remi, you did most of your studies in France, right?
Yes.
And
so
tell me, what was it like to learn piano in France compared? Have you ever had festivals outside of France that you kind of experienced in a different type of learning style?
Well, actually, to be honest, my the people I learned with were mostly from Russian schools, so it's learning in France, but the Russian way. I started, of course, with more like French teacher in Montpellier, but very soon, at 13 years old, I met my teacher, Rena Tchaikovsky, in Colmar. So I practiced with her in Colmar and then in Paris. And then I met Brigitte Engerer, which was a fantastic pianist. She's French, but also she studied in Russia, and it's really Russian school. And then I went a little bit to Hamburg to study with Evgeny Korolyov, and so once again you can assume by the name is Russian. So I really like Russian school.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. That's great. Have you ever you've been in North America?
I've been in North America for some concert, but I never studied there.
Yeah.
I was for
young
concert artist, maybe.
Oh, yes, of course. In New York City. Yeah, for me, it's. I think it was the complete opposite because I mean I'm from Canada originally, but I grew up in the U.S. and so much of my training had been American based, and going to Europe was really a brand new world for me. I went there I think when I was 24 to 25, and then it was more about I went to Verbier Festival to learn, and it was such a different perspective. I learned so much, and I think maybe it wasn't. I'm not going to say like one was better than the other, but I think it was just a different way of saying something, even though it was more about the experience of just how people live, and the concept of music is so different. I found that really, really interesting. So, but you've been with Russian teachers all the time. So,
but I think what is really interesting also in the United States, you have so much people from everywhere, like Russian teacher, maybe a few French one from England, and so German people, East Europa, Western Europa, from Asia as well, of course.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to have all these different people mixing and working together. And
I agree.
Yeah, you can find very nice music.
You can find a Russian teacher in the middle of Kansas, a German teacher in the middle of Nebraska. There's one in Alaska as well. So it's just crazy. Like they all are just spread out all over. It's amazing how much of a quality education you can get even in the smallest towns of the country.
For example, Babayan, the very famous teacher, is living is Russian, but he's living in New York, I guess, or at least in the United States. Yes.
Yeah. Did you know that Eugenie Zaï, so for the second prize, it's the Eugenie Zaï Prize. He lived in Cincinnati, Ohio for a long time. He was music director of the Cincinnati
Symphony. Oh, really? I didn't know at all.
Isn't that crazy?
Nice. I didn't know.
Out of all places, Cincinnati is, you put a pencil, it's like right in the middle of the Midwest of the US. So it's really insane. Oh, someone asked about the ring on the finger. Yeah, we're saying like it's, I don't think it's going to be such a problem.
I think that I don't have myself, so I cannot answer, but I've seen so much pianists doing that, I think it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Look, he can really play octavas with a ring without any problem.
Exactly.
It's almost the end now.
So I've been told that these octaves is for violin is the same as doing uppo staccato. It's kind of use momentum and adrenaline. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's funny you speak me about this because just after the competition I had to learn this very concerto, and I was discussing with the first prize Boris Gainsbourg, who was 30 years old, so 10 years older than me and much more experienced, a lot of concerto played. And so I asked him some advice about this concerto, like how you would work, and he told me about you have 3 passages with octavas like this. The first one I show you on first movement, and second one and this one. And he told me sometimes you play more with only your wrist like this. Sometimes you play with all the arm, and sometimes more only with the fingers. The more you want to play forte, and the more you will play with all the arm. So those last octavas I will play definitely more with the arm, everything you have.
Okay, we're almost at the end. Let's just listen to this.
I think we can applaud as well.
Nous écoutions Vitaly Starikov dans le premier.
It's so weird. I had to do this thing now.
I think it's hard to play with a conductor with a mask. Like you would like to play chamber music with the conductor and not watch his mask, but you have to.
Yeah, because you see the facial expressions for timing as well, so it's very weird, but it's a real challenge if you can do this.
There are conductors like do not so much with their hands, but you can see everything in their face and eyes, and to have a mask is such. It's like you conduct, but you don't have your hands. What you do?
Right. So last time we were not allowed to go back on stage to bow. I don't know why. But he looks so calm. I mean, he's not sweating. He doesn't look like he's out of breath. When I was finished, I was sweating. I was like a pig. It was insane. I mean, bravo.
The royal family.
The royal family. It's great. I guess so. That's it for tonight. Just one performer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So after you finished the competition, do you remember what you did right after when you went backstage? Did you just like, I'm done? Or were you like,
I don't know. I think there was a lot of people all around. You know, there was so much. You have to think about one thing. You are in the chapel for 1 week and you cannot see anyone. So after 1 week, everyone wants to see you, like your family, your teacher, friends from Brussels. And so immediately after the stage, I think there was maybe some interview. So I have to speak a little bit with some for the TV broadcast, and then we just went to eat all together. There was so much people. I don't remember so much because so much thing happened almost in the same time. But I think we went to eat all together after. It's we stayed for a very long time. Yeah.
I remember once I got off stage, I was like, where's my phone? Because I haven't had my phone for 7 days at that point. And then it didn't have battery. So I was like, oh, this is such a bummer. And then,
I got my phone before the performance. You got after the performance?
Oh, really? I didn't get mine until after the performance. Wow. Look at you.
I think I got it before the performance.
Okay. Wow. Look at you.
I'm not sure,
that's nice. Okay. Yeah, for me, I was just catching up. I was like texting my mom. I was texting my dad. My parents came to the concert. Did your parents? Did you have anybody that you knew that came to the final round?
My mother came to the, but my father was with my little brother, so he stayed in France. My mother came, my teacher came, and some organizers who were close to my teacher as well, and some friends from Brussels. So there was quite a lot of people.
Yeah. Jaggy Stardust asks us, you're not allowed to have your phone at all during the week at the Chapelle?
Yeah.
OMG.
Yeah. And that's a very important part of the social experience in La Chapelle, because it forces you, or you practice. Of course, you will practice a lot, but if you don't practice, what you will do is go out of your room and speak with other candidates, and you share experience with them, and that's very important. And otherwise, we will all be on our phone and watching Facebook, or I don't know why, and it would not be so interesting. It really forces you to go toward the other.
I think it gets progressively harder because imagine someone in 2005 doing the competition. There was no Facebook before. This phone doesn't exist, but in 2019, everybody was on their phones. And I know some of my colleagues are like, oh my gosh, I need my phone. I can't handle this. I remember this one candidate in particular. She was like, I want to get out of here. I want to watch cat videos. It was insane. So, okay, after the competition
we can play ping pong. Did you play ping pong?
That's true. I did play ping pong. Ping pong was the sport that we played. Here's the thing. I don't know. When did you play? Did you play near the beginning of the final round or near the end?
I played second. Yeah, so near the beginning.
Second. Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, you have different challenges, but I remember I played on the 5th night. I was the third last. I was contestant number 10. And I just remember that when everybody is at the Chapelle, it's really exciting because you have all 12
and
people.
And then people left, and that's horrible, yes. You see people
because I remember...
out.
Yeah, I remember there was one guy...
What told me the other candidates, like the one playing at the end, it's horrible. At the end, we are only 2 anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, so with me, it was just 3 left. And what he did, he had the brochure, and the photo of us, and each one that left, they would hang it. So it's almost like someone that was leaving us for real. And it was like a memorial by then. So I remember I had to rip my own paper and like tape it. And then it was 2 people left. I was like, bye guys, I'm done. It became less fun because I remember the first couple days, it was like, oh, there's so many people. We get to hang out, even though we're working really hard. At least we know we have our social time. But then by the end of it, it was just 3 of us or 4 of us. And we were like, okay. Yeah. Let's not kill each other at this point.
In our competition, the third one was playing in the last concert, so just really last, and it told us how horrible it was, like to stay and be 2 alone in the chapel and say, okay, let's keep up, let's focus, and let's do it to the end. But you see, everyone is already gone, and
exactly,
it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. Bambalam asks us, so there is a social interaction that is imposed on you. How does that work with introverts or people who are extremmen competitive? Remy, why don't you tell us what your thoughts are about this?
So you have to think one thing. We are not sportmen, and our purpose in life is not to do competition all our life. It's not like tennis when you always be like one vs the other, and it's always competition. In music, we do competition to have a career, but we don't do competition for competitions. So I would say it's very rare. It can happen, but it's very rare to have someone so competitive that he will not want any interaction with other musicians. We have to play together. We have chamber music, we have an orchestra. For you violinists, you have an orchestra. So it's not possible to just be by our own. And I will not say it's imposed. You have to also understand that the composer, I think it was the same for you, I'm not sure, but the composer of the contemporary piece come and practice with us. And so that session, we are all together and we speak, we play the piece a little bit, we share our experience, he explains a little bit how he would like it to be played. And everyone has his idea, and we are all eating together. So it's not forced. I see like it's written imposed. I would not ever think it's imposed. If someone really wants just to eat with us and then go back to his room and practice and don't say anything, it's fine. But we just want to speak with people. It's natural. It's I don't see. Exactly. I didn't saw like the other competitors as something bad. Like they are musician and musician. We are doing musician. You know, sometime knowing who will be first. And anyway, all the candidates will be prize winner. You have to understand. All 12 candidates, and this year all 6 candidates will be prize winner. And then knowing who will be first, who will be second, or be third, can depend on a lot of things. Are you on a good mood the day you play the final? Did you choose the right concerto to play? Does the jury maybe will like a little bit more one style of playing and a little bit less? It can depend on so many things. if you just think about competitivity between laureates, it's the wrong way, I guess. I would guess it's music.
I would agree. I'm sure in the past there have been always that one or two people in the competition that is super competitive and doesn't want to socialize with anyone. But I think my year in 2019 was extremely nice and everybody got along. We wanted to know each other. Actually, I knew a lot of them already, if not all of them, from somehow through an acquaintance or one friend, mutual friends or something like that. So, and it's true, we all have to play with each other at some point. Someone will become a professor somewhere and then you'll have to play with them. You never want to burn any bridges. So I think it would be foolish if you wanted to come in headstrong with the idea, like, I don't want to talk to anyone because you're my competitor. You're not quite in an athletic competition in that ways. But even that, I think, is different, right?
And you have to think, like, even piano, there's a lot of pianists, but when you are doing competitions, so typically from 18 years old to 25, 30 years old, generally you always see the same people in competition. So a little bit people, you say, oh, you're back here at this competition. I know you from a different competition. Maybe I played with you some concerto somewhere, festival. Mm-hmm. So it's not people you discover for the first time. Sometimes it can be people from a very long time. I remember first prize and fourth prize, I guess, in my competition. They were always together and they were very good friends. And that's not because they did a competition. They will get like fools.
Exactly. Sense. We have a question here. Do you have rehearsals with the orchestra before the final? Thanks.
Yes, hopefully yes. Yes.
I remember we had 2 rehearsals.
Yeah, 2. One rehearsal and one general rehearsal just before.
Yeah.
To give you an idea,
was it like 1 week before? Wait, when was the first rehearsal? So I think I came in on the Friday, and then I had rehearsal on Monday. That was the first one. It was kind of a reading of the new piece and also the concerto. And then we had one more rehearsal the night before, so Thursday for me.
Yeah.
Or the day before, right? Was that what you did also?
Just record, like, yes. And so rehearsal, you have to think it's like 1 hour and a half. And then you have to time this, and then like 15 minutes just before the concert to check up the balance between instrument and just get a little bit more into if maybe you don't know a little bit what is current in music, but I would say like typically it's 2 rehearsals for concerto, 2 rehearsals, and one a little bit 15 minutes before the concert. One rehearsal is sometimes, yes, because of course when you do rehearsal you have to pay the musician in orchestra. It's expensive. Orchestra is very expensive. So when it's hard, sometimes you have only 1 rehearsal, it's okay, not great. If you have like 3 rehearsal or more, it's like fantastic. Doesn't happen so much time. Some very famous conductor ask for a lot of rehearsal because they want perfect work, but it's quite rare. Carlos Calagba was very famous that for it was like 10 rehearsal, 15 rehearsal for a concert for an opera, and then no rehearsal at all. It's like crazy. Maybe if the concert, the pianist, the conductor, and orchestra know them very well each other, it's possible. I remember one time I saw Boris Berezovsky playing a Tchaikovsky first concerto with Yekaterinburg Orchestra without a rehearsal. But Boris Berezovsky played this concerto like hundreds of times, and he knows the orchestra very well, and the conductor was his friend, so they know what to expect from each other, and they just played. It was fantastic. But you can do that when you play the concerto hundreds times. It's something.
Yeah. Okay, so we actually have a special guest now. We're going to have Marin Alsop join us, and we're going to have a little chance to just talk to her. So if she's connected, she's going to show up here. Oh, Marin, it's very nice to see you here. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, my pleasure.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Baltimore.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. That's fantastic. Baltimore, Maryland. That's fantastic. So welcome, everybody. This is Marin Alsop. She was conducting the final round of the piano competition for you, Remi, right?
Yes. Did
you guys
reconnect for me? Awesome. Thank you very much once again. It was fantastic time to play with you.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
Yeah. So how are you doing during this time of COVID? Are you keeping yourself busy, or what's been going on just overall feeling wise?
I mean, I think I've been very fortunate. I I've been able to do a lot of work, especially in Vienna with the Vienna Radio Symphony, where have a new position as chief conductor. And I just got back from a trip to Poland and to Bulgaria. So I've been able to travel a little bit, believe it or not, and work on some things during this time that I've been missing. And I think for some musicians, it's been very, very difficult. For me, it's been less difficult. How about you?
That's true. Well, for me, I mean, I was in Philadelphia for most of the year. And I mean, we were talking, me and Remi, we had a lot of concerts that were lined up at first. And of course, it's always difficult to swallow that they're going to be canceled and postponed and just figuring out how all that's going to work out. But, I think everybody's going through the same situation. So it's not like, someone's just attacking us or we're doing this alone. It's just a whole thing that we just have to live through. So I think just knowing that and understanding that it's not something that we're doing individually, I think that can help just alleviate some of that pain. But I think this is great that the Queen Elizabeth competition is doing this live stream. It's my first time to do this, so I'm making lots of mistakes probably. But and Remi's been great. You're such a great speaker, and we're so fortunate to have you, Marin, to join us on this Twitch stream. So Marin, you're a violinist and a conductor, right?
Yes.
How is it like to conduct the Queen Elizabeth competition? You're playing, you're rehearsing the same pieces over and over and over for 12 candidates that their futures are on the line, basically. How do you come into that rehearsal space fresh, inspired? What drives you?
I have to say that it was the few years I was able to do the competition were some of the most enjoyable memories, and meeting so many incredibly gifted young artists. It was very inspiring for me. I also was able to introduce them to my managements and bring them around the world. So I think it on many levels, the quite aspect is the actual music making, because for some young artists, they have a concept, but it's perhaps not fully formed. If you're a young pianist playing a Brahms piano concerto for the first or second time, it really can develop hugely, especially if you have someone conducting who wants to be a collaborator in terms of creating a symphonic sound for it and trajectory. So I would say that for me, it was never stale at all. It was always a new experience, very exciting. I think maybe the hardest aspect was doing the obligatory piece, the contemporary piece, because we had to do that same piece 12 times. But it was amazing to watch it grow with each artist and from perspectives and different interpretive ideas. So I found it all quite fascinating, actually.
I think that's really wonderful to see what your thoughts are. And I know that everybody has such a different interpretation of that piece because no one really knows what it sounds like and everybody interprets the language of the piece. Was there anything that kind of threw you off that someone did that was like caught you off guard, or did you have a certain mind like, okay, this is kind of what I have to do? Or is it more like, how did you separate yourself from interpreting the piece yourself, but more so adapting to what the contestants already had in their minds?
Well, I think that, I had an advantage over the candidates because I was able to listen to the mock-up of the piece, and I was also able to speak at length with the composer. I think that hearing the words from the composer that he or she tells the candidates, shares with them the narrative, really helps. But what's fascinating is that it's a very different journey for each candidate. And, some candidates spent inordinate hours every day memorizing the obligatory piece, the contemporary piece, and others didn't go that direction, went a different direction. And so I found it really interesting and insightful. I think it's a wonderful addition to understanding the young artist when you see them work this way. Is it 5 days? I think it was 5 days. 5 days to put together a piece,
7.
but 7 days.
a week.
It's a whole week.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, Remi, how did it go when you did it?
Well, I know that I generally have quite a good memory, and I think the piece by Michel Petruccian really makes sense for me. I really love this music, so I would say I was quite lucky because after 2 or 3 days I was able to kind of play it without the score. Not exactly, but and so I decided to play it with score to not take any risk, but it made kind of a whole picture in my head, and that's really what I am for when I play a piece. I don't want to just being reading and not knowing what's going up after and before, and so I was really glad that I could have kind of a picture of what I will do, even if I play with score.
Yes. And I don't think memorizing it is really the critical component. I think what you're talking about is so essential and that must be nerve-wracking, not knowing if you'll have a sense of the underlying moral to the story. What does the piece mean? And have that over. I think as soon as you get that, it comes to life.
I don't know. I guess you had opportunity to practice with the composer as well. But for us, the session with Michel Petruccian were so interesting to just practice the composer, and he tell us about the music and where it comes from a little bit. But at the same time, he doesn't want to tell too much. He doesn't want to impose us like you should do that, and he wait also from us to bring something to his music.
Yeah, I think that's a great balance. Sharing enough, but not dictating how you should feel about the music. Yeah, I think that was a great balance from him.
Yeah, because I know as a contestant, so much of our trust is given to the conductor because we don't really know what's going to happen, and we're nervous as heck, and we're just hoping that we can get through this whole piece and this whole song in one piece without messing up and at least coming in correctly. And that's just one extra stress that I think we need, that comfort zone. And I worked with Hugh Wolf, but I saw some of your performances before, and you're so intentional with every single movement that the contestant or the performer is doing. I call them performers and contestants, but really it's a concert when you get to that point, isn't it? And you have to remember, I think, as a contestant, that even though it is an imposed work, it does seem like a competition piece. It still is a performance at the end of the day, that we're transmitting these emotions, the songs, and the excitement of hearing a piece for the first time. So that's it's just amazing the work that has to be going into to tailor 12 contestants every single night.
But also, what an incredible journey for the composer, I imagine, as well, to hear one's creation brought to life by 12 different interpreters. Actually, 13, because there's also the artist that records it initially with Stra. So it's really 13, lucky 13 interpretations. So, I mean, that must be an incredible journey as well. And I'm sure that having one's piece performed, or commissioned by the Queen Elisabeth competition, high point for many composers.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's the composer gets 13 unique recordings of that, and I think that is so valuable to see how people interpret his music. Remi? Yeah.
It should be quite strange also for the composer, because he's not allowed to tell anything before the competition, and you have to think like he probably knows from a long time, 6 months ago, that he won the competition, because I have to prepare the score, put it on the computer, and prepare everything, but he cannot tell it to anyone. And it has to stay secret, and I think that's very specific to this competition. And once again, an aspect of the
What was your impression of the isolation, going to the chapel and being isolated for those 7 days? And what was so interesting during my time, it really, I watched as the withdrawal from the smartphone became much more severe, because all young people rely on the smartphone not just for information, but also as their time teller, their weather, their sort of everything. And I watched as I felt that was a really tough call, but I noticed that the candidates seemed to really bond while in that isolation. But I'd be curious to know how you both felt about it.
We were just speaking about that before, and we agreed that it became harder and harder. I don't remember in my competition there was so much someone like who need a phone, like it was like really I need my phone. We accept that, and we just have another social life with other candidates, and it was fine. For me, I don't use so much my phone, so it's really fine. Apparently, for Timothy edition, there was some more problem. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think that the youngest person that did the competition, she was 19, so she's never had a life without the internet. That for her is just like talking to people. And I mean, even for me, I it's really hard for me to remember a time without my phone or without a computer or Wi-Fi. So I mean, not saying that everybody struggled. It was very revealing of how important and how much we don't really need phones in order to have a good life, or how much it can destroy some of our lives, actually having too much attention to our phones and how much time we actually waste. But I think, yeah, it was kind of a toss-up. I think it's only going to get harder because as we become more dependent, I think I don't know how things are going to be after COVID, because everybody, no matter what age you are, you had to use Wi-Fi and internet and the phone at some point now. And, you know, once you get into that, it's kind of like touching the forbidden fruit. You know too much now and you can't live without it anymore. So I don't know. For me, it was tough, but I could handle it still. And I think it was easier for some and more difficult for some. But overall, it wasn't anything that was too dire. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens next year, though. But I wanted to pull back the conversation. Oh, keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, I just a quick question, last question on that. Did you find that the and the internet created a deeper, more meaningful bond among the contestants? Or, I mean, it's a little bit artificial, so it's hard to really know, but I felt that it was a very supportive atmosphere always there.
I personally felt that my pool of finalists were extremely supportive of each other. We're all going through the same amount of stress. And it really was a toss-up. I mean, whether we get first, second, third, all the way to Laureate, it didn't really matter because we all knew how much struggles we went in order to get to that point. And I think we just all wanted the best for each other. I've heard in the past that there was some oddballs and Ron Apple, but in my year it was very supportive. I don't know, Remy, you said yours was also very supportive. Is that right?
Like, yes, maybe one or two people, not like against, but I would say maybe there was one or two people who were not really into the group. It's not really a problem, but people we were a little bit less speaking. I think there was also a problem, maybe a little bit of language. Some people really are very comfortable with English. Maybe they live in USA for a long time. People speak English okay, but not that great like me, and people really struggle sometimes. And so sometimes we can be a little bit difficult, and people are a little bit more shy and not used to that. I'm wondering, I had some conversation with violinist. I don't know if you agree with that generally violinist session, it's more friendly and group because you are more used to play chamber music and orchestra, and pianists tend to be a little bit more on their side. I don't know if it's true.
I could see that. A whole bunch of pianists, 12 of them that don't really play together and then suddenly put together, it could be very awkward, but you know, it is what it is.
Imagine
that's cool.
12 piano together.
Oh gosh, wow, that's going to be powerful. Marin, I just wanted to bring things a little bit to a different topic. You're a woman conductor, and I'm just wondering, that's something that we've seen a lot more these days. During your time, was that something that was talked about, or did you feel any different? Can you just tell us what it was like to be that? Because when I think of a conductor, I think of you as a wonderful conductor. I don't really think that you're a woman. It's just fabulous conductor. What was your experience through that?
Well, I think that's the place to be now, and I don't know. I'm not sure it's such a much better time now that we're more open to gender and other forms of diversity. I think it's a much better moment in our field, and hopefully it will do more inclusion and access for people. So I think we're headed in the right direction. Let's put it that way. I don't like to drive looking out the rear view mirror. Let's look forward.
Yeah.
I have a fellowship for women conductors, and of the 24 women who've won awards, 18 are now music directors. So I'm feeling it. It's going in the right direction, and I'm
That's
glad that
incredible.
for young people like you, it seems a non-starter. It's not nearly as rigid in stereotype as it used to be. So it's good news.
That's good to hear. I'm so happy. Well, Marin, it's such a pleasure for you to join us during this Twitch stream. Really appreciate it, and I hope to meet you in real life.
Great,
Yeah.
and good luck. I hope everything goes well, and I'm going to join a little bit in the finals. Okay. Bye.
All right.
Bye. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have Vitaly ready to talk to us.
Oh,
okay.
really nice.
Are you a little nervous? Let's see how
I didn't know you will come
is.
on live. Oh,
Vitaly! Bravo!
Hello.
Congratulations.
Do you hear me? Thank you.
We can hear you
Yes,
very
we hear
well.
you.
Okay, tell us a few
super.
words. What does it feel like? What does it feel like afterwards?
Oh, few words. So I don't know it because maybe now I feel all feelings maybe, and I don't know exactly what was it, and I hope that it was enough good. I don't know.
It was great. I mean, you looked. I
Yeah.
gotta say, you looked so calm, and you're not sweating. Or were you sweating?
What?
Were you?
Yeah.
Were you sweating? Yeah. You looked like you were very
So,
cool and calm.
yeah. Maybe a little, yeah, but I feel enough good. But of course, inside of me, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm so tired after that final.
But it's because people at Queen Elisabeth are so good at makeup. It's very professional, so you
Yeah.
never see people
My makeup is
sweating.
very professional. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
They do
So
all
tell
the
us,
makeup
what was?
before you go.
Yeah, I mean, you looked great. You looked like you were so into the music. But tell us, what was it like to be in the chapelle for the past week?
About Chapelle, yeah, Chapelle is great place, and it was my first one in Chapelle, and of course it was unforgettable experience for me to be almost alone for 1 week, and to practice a lot, and to walk around the building a lot. Yeah, to be close to nature, and to be to be with food every time. Yeah, it was a good
Oh yeah,
experience. Yeah.
it's like a hotel, right? In some ways. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
A very
yeah, I mean,
important
I can.
question. Do you have your phone back? It's a very important question. Do you have your phone
Ah,
back with you?
no, not
Not
yet.
yet?
But
Oh,
not yet, because
sorry for you then.
I need to meet my host family, and
Okay.
they have my phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we won't keep you for much longer, but we have I have one last question for you. What was it like to learn
Yeah.
the contemporary piece, Dans Jardin Féerique? What was it like to learn? Was it stressful? Did you enjoy it? Tell us.
So I think it was, of course, I was enjoyed by this piece because it is not so difficult in musical language for me, and it's this music has too many references to impressionist music, for example, to Debussy, to Ravel, of course. Yeah, but of course this piece is difficult by itself, technically, and I wasn't stressed this week, but I could enjoy by this piece and that week in chapel. Yeah.
It was
But
awesome.
congratulations, really.
Awesome.
We
Congratulations,
speak a little
Vitaly.
bit too much on your music, so I will hear it again, and it will be a great pleasure. I'm sure for it.
Absolutely. Well, take it easy, Vitaly. Enjoy the rest of your time in Brussels. And I know the waiting before the results can be painful, but just don't think about it and it's going to be great.
Yeah,
just
okay.
enjoy Brussels. I mean, I hope it opens up a little bit, but enjoy. And thanks for joining us and have a great night, Vitaly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bravo. Bravo, bravo.
Thank you.
Bravo. All right, that was fun. So thank you, Remy,
Yeah.
again for tonight, for
You're right.
joining.
He seems very like a real calm candidate and very.
He
It's good to have
does.
like
He
this
see-
strong mind and be quite confident even when you have kind of doubt, but you know where you are going. That's really nice from him.
Exactly. It's necessary to have that quality when you are in that kind of.
Is that my sound? I cannot hear you again.
Remy, you should talk.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think your sound was
All right.
mute or mine. I don't know.
Technical difficulties, but now you can hear me, right? Good.
Yes.
All right.
Very good.
All right. So, Remy, I want to say a big thank you to you for joining us today again. Where can we find you online? Do you have Instagram, Facebook? I know you have a website, but
I'm very bad with social network. I don't have any social network, but you can find me on my website. Yes.
send him an email if you want to get in touch with him. And
yeah, you have my email or my website, and you can have a contact page. You can find me. That's very easy.
Awesome.
But it was
Well,
really
thank
great
you.
pleasure to be with you and to speak
course.
with Marin Alsop as well. And I see some message from Nicolas Dardancourt also. So hello, if you're still
Hello,
there.
Nicolas.
It was really nice things to be there and speak for the final. Lots of good memories.
Yeah, exactly. It's bringing you back all the way to all the hard work, sweat, and tears to enjoy those moments, right? So awesome. All right. So for those of you that's just joining again, we're going to end now, but tomorrow we'll be joined by Takashi Sato, who is a finalist, the edition before yours, I think, and in 2010 exactly. So we're going to meet here again tomorrow at 8 p.m. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you here tomorrow.